Yes.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on our first ever workshop for Plastic Free July, discussing the challenges and solutions around sustainable menstrual products. And my name is Rebecca Prince-Ruiz. I am the founder of Plastic Free July, and I am really delighted to be joined this afternoon by three very special guests, one of whom you can see and two of whom you're just going to hear of. We're having a few sound issues. So I'd just like to ask, if you have any issues anyone, please just write it in the chat, and if we do, whoever's speaking that you can't hear very well, we'll just ask them to just switch their video off. So please be patient and we'll do what we can. So I'm just delighted. I'll just quickly introduce our three guests before I tell you a little bit about Plastic Free July, and then we're just going to get stuck into the conversation. So I'm delighted to be joined by Rajasi, who is joining us from Mumbai in India, and Jessamijn and Kathy, who are from Auroraville, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves and the work that they're doing. And Plastic Free July, we are all about making small steps in our daily lives in July and beyond to reduce our single-use plastic, to create less waste and leave behind a cleaner environment. And a lot of what we focus on are the really common single-use plastics in our lives, which tend to be around food and food packaging, the bags and the straws and all of the plastic containers and plastic wrapped food that we buy. But as a woman, I know when I first started Plastic Free July, I did not realise that there were alternatives to single-use menstrual products. And so I came to making the switch myself as I was trying to reduce my plastic waste when I started Plastic Free July back in 2011. But of all the changes that I've made in my own life, I really feel like this is one that needs to, it was a real game changer for me. I think because I didn't know that there are alternatives, but realizing the other benefits in terms of, you know, now I find it much easier. It's just convenient. I don't have to go and buy stuff. And it's been an incredible money saver as well. And so our guests here today are the experts in this field. They're working in different ways on this issue, and I'm really excited to learn more from all of you as well. And I think this is a really important conversation, not just environmentally, but in terms of communities and equity and social justice moving forward. So Rajasi, can you tell us about yourself and your work and why this issue was important for you to work on?
Okay, so I'm Rajasi. I'm from Mumbai, India, and I had so 7 years ago I moved to Chhattisgarh for a fellowship, and Chhattisgarh is a state in India, and there I lived in rural area, and there I came to know that disposable pads are like their hazards. I came to know, like not just environmental hazards, but also what chemicals they contain and so many other things. And at that time my friend told me about EcoFem cloth pads, and that's how I switched to reusable cloth pads. And since I was already using cloth, like I had used it in past when I was a teenager, so for me it was not difficult to switch. But I when I was trying to talk about menstruation around me, and in the place where I was living, I came to know that there's total silence about the topic, and people are not aware about their own bodies. And that's how this work started. And from different and collaborations with different people. That's how I have kept working over the years. And EcoFem has been one of my biggest supporters from beginning, kind of mentors from the beginning. So yeah, so this is about myself.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I think absolutely people are more and more concerned about not just the waste, Rajasi, but the health impacts, and thinking, you know, what are in these products that we're not only ingesting into our bodies, but in close contact with our bodies as well. So Kathy and Jessamijn, that's a good introduction to you and the work of EcoFem. So love to hear about your stories and the work that you do and what led you to be working on this issue. And I'm just going to, just a quick reminder to participants, if you're having trouble hearing any of us, please just pop a note in the chat as well, and we'll perhaps just drop out on the video. So we're having some issues, but please just bear with us.
Yep. Thanks, Rebecca and Rajasi. Yeah, I think for me, I'm from Australia originally, but moved in here 23 years ago, and it was one of my first sort of rude awakenings was that there was no convenient disposal solution for sanitary waste, and I was given a kind of like a hoe to get into all and told, you know, I would have to dig holes to bury my waste. And that was sort of like a aha moment that there was no, even in, I think in the West there's the appearance that it's going away. In India, there isn't even that appearance, really, like this realization that you're handling it yourself, especially, yeah, I can see it's not so clear. I've just, yeah, is this better? Or let us know if not. But otherwise, yeah, so I just sort of realised I was looking for alternatives, and I found my first cloth pad on a holiday in New Zealand, and it was just a very locally made, unbranded thing. It was sitting on a sort of really shelf, and getting that cloth pad just really started just using it. It just changed my life. I realised not only was I avoiding this whole issue with waste, but yeah, just like Rajasi said, yeah, it was, we'll just go off the video as well so that maybe we can improve the sound quality. So yeah, I was realising it was also, I was going to save money with using reusables, and it just brought me in contact with my menstruation in a way that I'd always been taught to avoid it. So all of those sort of benefits made me feel inspired to really do something with cloth pads. And I started it in a very small scale in my community already nearly 20 years ago, but meeting Jessamijn was really the catalyst to start to build it into a social enterprise where we could really get the products out there to especially to women in India.
Yeah, for me, so my name is Jessamijn. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I moved to India 16 years ago. And when I came to Orville, that's where we are in the south of India, and I met Kathy. We were looking for possibilities for women to gain a livelihood, and stitching was one of the things that the women knew how to do, and so the cloth pad that Kathy had already been making for most of Orville's internal consumption was a product that seemed very like a very logical choice. And in hindsight, I realized that actually when I was a child, my mother had been stitching cloth pads with rural women. I grew up in Indonesia in Sumba, and where there was also no access to other sort of products. And that for myself, I'd also been making for my own use. So it felt very logical. There was no actual strong thought about. It felt just so in place to opt for this as a product. And I think what made it very sort of interesting was the larger context around it. And so on the one hand, livelihood options for women, the waste issue, the whole sort of what Rajasi spoke about, the social, cultural issue around menstruation of women not speaking and not having access to information and not knowing what's actually going on in your body. And I think it's just I'm not sure whether you are hearing us, but yeah.
Now it's very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was how, yeah, I met Kathy, and then we started EcoFem as a project. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, maybe one of the things, because we did seem to lose you a bit with the sound there, is if there's a link on your website about the work that you do, or any articles that we can send out to participants, and they can maybe fill in any of the gaps that were there. But there seems to be some real themes emerging here. Okay, well,
Yes, we'll happily do that.
Great. So, I mean, many of us, I think, like me, have grown up only knowing about disposable menstrual products. And apart from the packaging, we're becoming, as a society, I think, increasingly aware of the waste created. And just wanting to ask you, the three of you, apart from the packaging, what are the actual pads and tampons made of, and what do you think is the real product, the real cost of these products, not just environmentally but affordability and the wider impacts on communities? Who wants to have a go at that one first?
Rajasi, why don't you take it forward?
Okay, so I'll just start, and Kathy and Jessamijn can join in whenever they want to add. So for myself, I would say a lot of people from small towns have tried cloth in the beginning, and because of convenience, we started using disposable pads. And so that is about what I felt. But apart from packaging, the cost that it comes, like when it comes to health, like what ingredients are there in the products, and how the social also, like people look at disposable products as a aspiration product, or as a ideal product. So I think that also comes in the picture, like how we look at it. So that is one thing that I wanted to share. And apart from the packaging, the products also contain a lot of synthetic chemicals, and also have lot of products that lot of ingredients that are used in plastic products as well. So that makes this product hard to dispose of, and then these products will be there in our earth, like in the water, in the soil, and everywhere, and in turn may enter our bodies as well, because then they will just disintegrate into small particles which we may not be able to see. So they will be there for many years, like 400 to 800 years is what has been estimated by experts. So that is something that is very concerning.
Yeah. And maybe to add to that, I think also in our journey we learned more about what's actually inside disposable sanitary napkins. And if we look at the most sort of conventional ones that most people use, that have super absorbent polymers, and Rajasi, you mentioned there's many different sort of plastics inside, and the plastics often look very white. And so in that process also there's bleaching happening, and as a consequence of that, with chlorine bleaching, you have also dioxins form. And so dioxins are known to be very sort of harmful for our health, and are related and connected to, for example, carcinogenic effects, disturbance of our hormonal production, and we hold these pads against our body in very absorptive tissue, and the levels might actually be quite low per pad, but we wear these pads for a very long time, and so there's an accumulative effect of how we store these toxins that we absorb. And so there's not so much that's really out there of how that is related to sort of diseases, and I think it's very complex to do that actually. But I think what's really valid for me is to know that in disposables there are ingredients that are not good for us. So in whatever way to sort of absorb it doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
Mm.
And I'd just add one more statistic, which really had a huge impact on my understanding, which was when I learned that a single woman could generate about 125 kilos of sanitary waste over about 40 years of menstruation. I was really shocked. I think that's something we don't realize or notice because we're just using relatively few products each month. But when you add it all up, so that really occurred to me in that moment.
I'm not sure if
Kathy, we lost you.
That I could do that would really have a significant. Oh,
Here, repeat it.
yeah, just to say that sort of that 125 kilos of sanitary waste statistic really had an impact and made me realize that if I shift to reusables, I'm going to significantly reduce my waste footprint, and that was really strong for me.
And
Yeah,
a small
and
addition.
also, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think the other, and this might be very sort of different from place to place, but for us here in India, our waste is being dumped and largely, and so that is really impacting people directly who are living either next to waste or who are relying for their livelihoods on sorting waste. Also for people often pads are still sort of flushed down and they block sewage systems, and people actually have to go down into the drains to unblock this. So it's really directly impacting people's life, their quality, and also life expectation.
Absolutely, and I just want to add a little to what Kathy also mentioned. There is this statistics by WSSC, which they have mentioned, that India produces around 12 billion pads every, the waste produced by disposable pads is 12 billion annually, and it's a huge number, and this is just for India we are talking about. So it's a very huge number. And to add to the Jessamijn's point, the people who segregate waste, they may not always have safety gear to segregate the waste, and also a lot of people mix the the menstrual waste with other waste that is generated in the house. So that makes it more difficult to segregate and sort of take care of its disposal and its further management.
I've got a question, and I'm not sure whether any of you would know this, but like, how long have we been using disposable menstrual products for? Is this something that's relatively recent? Like, is it like things like the plastic bags and straws, etc.? Has it been enabled through plastic production?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. Like the first sanitary napkins were really kind of started to be made around about World War I time, and this was a recycling of bandages. But at the time they were really actually made of, cotton and gauze. But actually it's pretty recent. I could even see in my own lifetime that when I got my periods first time about 40 years ago, I was given something that looked like a fat little pillow. And now I was really shocked when I looked at a modern sanitary napkin that's so wafer thin. So I think we're talking, in the last sort of 50 years since plastics have really become, developed and processed in the way that they have and become really high-tech products. Yeah, so this is really new in the history of, menstruation, you could say.
Mm. So I think it's timely at this point to start to talk about, well, what are the more sustainable alternatives? And Rajasi, if you could tell us about using cloth pads and other alternatives, and also what advice would you give someone who has never tried it and just want to get started?
I would suggest that person who is just becoming friends with reusable products, I would suggest they try it on their low flow day, like on the third or fourth day, when they don't have much of pain and they are relaxed and comfortable. So that is when they should try either a cloth pad or a menstrual cup or a period panty. So anything from this, they could give it a try. And and also, like with menstrual cups, I would suggest that they should understand their body a little first, like how to insert it. If they are not sexually active, then there would be they would be very shy to insert something then inside. So we will have to talk to them about that, and how insertion happens, and how it's not going to damage their insides in any way. So there's a lot of question and answers that happen. And with cloth pads, I think cloth pads is like using an extra, I would say, just adding extra garment to your underwear is what I feel, which keeps on absorbing your flow. And you can either carry it in a small pouch if you're outside, like you can store it in that, or if at your home, you can just put it in a small bucket or something and let it soak for some time and then wash it. So it's not so difficult if like that's what I have seen. Like a lot of people wash our underwear by our own hands. So for them, it won't be very difficult. And even if you want to wash it in washing machine, it's still very doable.
Mm-hmm. And I really like how you have suggested that people start by, not starting when their flow is really heavy, but because I think often our tendency when we become want to try something new, it's all about doing everything and it's all at once, and then if you fail, then it's easy to feel delusioned. So I think that's a really great approach. Did you have Kathy or Jessamijn, did you have an example there to show us? You're on mute, Jessamijn.
So yes, I have here a pad, and as you can see, I mean it's very colorful, but in terms of its shape, it's similar to a disposable Panty napkins. It has wings that you'd actually fasten around the underwear to keep it in place. And this particular pad is made of organic flannel. It's cotton, and inside there are absorbent layers of cotton, and the backing is also cotton but with a leak-proof layer. And I think this is one of the aspects that's very important for many women, is that there is somehow a feeling of security of not leaking through the pad. And they come in different sort of sizes, from very small panty liners to larger sized night pads. I'm just saying, I mean, most pads can be used for at least 75 times, 200 times. And so with the pad, that one cloth pad that you're using, you're replacing 75 to 100 disposable sanitary napkins. I'm not sure whether you can still hear us.
Yeah, it was quite crackly then, but it was mostly I could hear it. I hope everyone else could. Rajasi, just wanted to ask you a question about washing. So you said you would soak it first. Is the temperature of the water important there? And also, like, do you add anything when you're soaking them?
Yes, very important question this is. So we suggest that that you should soak them in cold or like normal temperature water, not in a hot water. A lot of people feel that hot water will disinfect the pad very soon, but the hot water may fix the stains, is what we have observed. So actually, if we could use cold water, then it will help in removing the stains, and it will be quite easy. So soaking for at least 15 to 20 minutes. So 30 minutes is something which a lot of people recommend, but if you could soak it for half an hour or even for 20 minutes, it will take out all the blood from insides, and then it will make it very easier to wash. Then you can just use soap, like you can wash it by hand or you can put it in washing machine, whatever is suitable for you. Rebecca, you're on mute.
So can you show again the samples that you had there, please?
Yes, so this is the overnight pad, which is this is also like this we can use for heavy flow or for using it overnight. It comes with wider back. Ecofem has a similar one. I don't have Ecofem's one right now. Then there is a Panty Liner, as Jessamijn was mentioning. You can see the size difference in this.
Is the difference
So,
thickness as well as the actual?
yes, this is this is like this just has few layers of cloth, and this is just to absorb some leaks when you are using a cup or for your light flow or for white discharge. So this is something, and this is one more which I wanted to show. This is Ecofem's foldable model. This also comes with wings and a leak-proof black. So a lot of people ask like whether the cloth pads will leak, but you can check on the whatever place you are. You can just check on the website if they have leak-proof layer or not. You will see that 90% of them have leak-proof layer. And this one particularly, this is like two pieces of cloth joined together, and once you fold them, it becomes a cloth pad. So this is very like nice pad, I feel, and very easy to dry, and also it since they are very colorful, they blend it with other our garments, and people may not be able to find out if it's a cloth pad or what. And
Yeah.
just a small addition, this is a small pouch which you can use to store your cloth pads when you're outside. You can carry them in this, and once you're home, then you can soak them and wash.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about the colourful nature of them as well. Probably showing the stains less, any stains less, as well as being a little bit more discreet on your washing line might work better for some people. So I wanted to ask, when I first learned about cloth pads, it was I wasn't aware of anywhere you could buy them, so I learned about it at a workshop. So I wanted to know how easy it is, in your opinion and experience, to make your own, and can you all share the work that you've been doing in India and engaging communities to make cloth pads?
I think Kathy and Jessamijn should answer this.
Sure. Yes, I think there's sort of two aspects to it. So one is to make your own, and the other work for like how we're engaging sort of also women's groups in stitching. I think it's very easy to make your own cloth pad. And one of the things that you could do is, if you're at home and you have some leftover cloth or maybe some old fabric, and you've not been using cloth pads before, you could just trace a disposable sanitary napkin. And you need, just to know, you would always need around 1 centimeter on each side as a stitching margin. I have here some cut pieces. This is from our pads. And so, I mean, I have here one layer that's with a leak-proof layer, but it's not required. You can also get used to using cloth pads without a leak-proof layer. Or you could maybe find something that is like umbrella material or raincoat, like something, if it's something that you're not using anymore, you could cut another sort of layer in the shape of this with wings to make your leak-proof layer. Then it's good to find, these are the inner layers, and depending on the thickness of your cloth, but you determine the number of layers. This is quite thin flannel, so I've got 6 here. I think it's nice to look for something that is really sort of absorbent. So this could maybe be terry towels, or where the fibers are a bit loose, because that means the blood can be easily absorbed, but also when you're soaking it or washing it, the blood can be more easily released. So very tightly woven fabric is not so good to put inside and on top. It is good for the backing because that means it's more difficult to sort of let through. But for the top and the inner parts, we use flannel. Flannel is just, pajama materials. It's brushed cotton, and with the brushing, the hair sort of come out and stick out. So it's very soft. So it's nice for your body, but it's also very easy to absorb. So you cut out a top layer, a back layer, and also the inner layers. And just by tracing a disposable napkin, you would get those shapes. The thing that you need to be aware of is that the width has to be at least, I just do this now from the top of my head, at least 18 centimeters in order to have the closure around. So the width of your wings need to be at least 18 centimeters. Instruction videos, and what we will do is we have an instruction video as well. It's very detailed with things to look at, and we'll send that to you, Rebecca, to send on to the participants. And it really takes you step by step into all the sort of aspects of this stitching your own cloth pad. It doesn't look at how to cut, but that we just shared about right now. But for the stitching, that is relatively, it's a good guide. So yeah, just Kathy is mentioning, I mean, I'm sure there are many sort of companies who do that. We have also a kit that's called a make your own kit. And so where we put in 3 of these sizes, they're pre-cut and they come with this stitching instructions. And so that's another possibility, just to sort of order the materials and then you can stitch your own. Generally, people find it very nice and relaxing to be stitching the pad for themselves, and it's also good fun to do with a group of people.
Thank you. We're getting a bit of crackling with your voices, but we've had feedback that the examples are very helpful. So if we can share those videos with everyone afterwards, that would be great. Rajasi, did you want to add anything about your experience in making pads within communities and within groups? Is that something which is becoming increasingly popular, and is there more interest?
Yes, absolutely. So many years ago, I learned from EcoFem how to make your own cloth pads, because I think in 2014 or 15, I ordered a DIY kit from EcoFem, and this kit helped me to understand what goes inside cloth pads, how to make them. And until recently, like I think 2 or 3 years ago, I started earlier I stitched my own cloth pads, but then I didn't know how EcoFem made or any brand made. So when I learned it from EcoFem, then I kind of understood like how to go about it like clearly. And then with community, actually a lot of people are getting interested, and especially in COVID situation, we got this that a lot of people are interested since they are not able to step outside to buy their menstrual products. So now they are interested in trying reusable products. And earlier also, a lot of rural people or small communities were interested in making their own cloth pads and like stitching for themselves and maybe for their own community also. So yes, there is this interest growing, and some organizations are taking initiative in spreading this message. So I think someone had asked to show the foldable model again. I'm just showing it again. So this is the foldable model. Comes with wings and leaf-proof flare, and you can see, you can open it this way, and you can fold it again in the half and again. So you will see that it becomes like this.
And Rajasi, could you also talk, you mentioned earlier, like apart from the pads and the cups, the period panties, so that would be something that you would purchase rather than make yourself?
Yes, you can buy period panties or buy cloth pads, whatever that suits you. Period panties are becoming popular also. they are available on Amazon and different websites now. So people either use it as a backup when they are using some product, and there are some brands who make period panties that are that we can use. Like you don't need to use another menstrual cup product with it. You can just use only period panties. Have I answered your question well, or did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. We've got a couple more questions here. So someone has asked, how safe are cloth pads? Would you like to answer that one, Rajasi, and then Kathy and Jessamijn, if you want to add anything else?
Okay, so I would say that we all use our clothes, we wash them and we reuse them. So same is with our reusable products. Like the only difference that makes in reusable menstrual products is we have to soak them for some time and then we have to reuse them. If we could dry it in sun, then it's the best way because sun is the best disinfectant. Or if you have issues with sunlight, like you don't get direct sunlight, but if you have a washing machine where you can control the temperature and all, or a dryer, you can totally use it in that way. Like you can wash it and dry it using these equipments. So they're quite safe to use since you are the one who wash it and takes care of it. So we all make sure that when there's a stain of something on our clothes, we instantly wash it off, or we kind of give it for dry cleaning or something. So same happens with our cloth pads. Like if there is a stain which is not going off, you can just Google like how can I remove the stain, or what am I doing wrong. So I think it's more getting close to your own body if you start using reusable products. And cloth pads are much safer options since they come in different designs and variants, and you can dry them and use them very well.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe just yet another example of, so many products that we are sold now that are made from plastics and come in plastic packaging. We have this thought that they're more hygienic or safer to use without us actually questioning not only the waste but all of the chemicals that, these are made largely from fossil fuel, and these plastics have a lot of synthetic chemicals in them to make these products, and we're not actually questioning, well, what is the impact on having those next to our bodies.
Yeah, could I just add something on that, Rebecca? Because you're absolutely right. And what really opened our eyes, and maybe these are links we could share with the audience as well, but two organisations in the US called Women's Voices for the Earth, and in the UK, Women's Environmental Network. And they've both done a lot of, especially the one in the US, have done a lot of research about the ingredients in disposable products, which have been largely concealed from consumers because they haven't been obliged to reveal them. And, we know anecdotally that a lot of women experience like rashes, allergic reactions to this, which presumably the synthetics and the chemicals in disposable pads. But we're finding more and more that when actually people make a switch to reusable products, we're building actually more understanding and evidence that these symptoms are largely resolving. So I think this still needs to be further explored, but you're absolutely right. The more natural the product is, the safer it is for our health.
I completely agree, Kathy. And I think also what we need to understand is that, and of course laws vary from country to country, but as a general rule, the burden of proof is typically happening for, like, we need to prove things are unsafe. So manufacturers of these products don't need to prove that these materials are safe. It's the other way around. So I think interestingly, a lot of the attention on making changes from single-use disposable items to reusable has come from the waste perspective, but I really feel like in the next 10 years moving forward, a lot of the a lot of our effort is going to actually be driven by, as we discover more about the health impacts as well. Just one other question that's come through that we haven't answered is somebody has asked, what is your opinion of using Tampax instead? And then they've said recyclable material. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. It's from another Rebecca. If you want to perhaps just elaborate with your questions. I'm not sure if that's actually a brand name and talking about some kind of tampons, but wasn't sure whether any of the panelists want to have a go at that before we get to the final question.
I can speak to that a little bit. Tampax is indeed an internal tampon, and I think the alternative of the menstrual cup, many people who have been using tampons before sort of opt for the menstrual cup because they have a preference for an internal product, and I would suggest that if you are more comfortable with that, then to try a menstrual cup. It's slightly different in its use and care. Then it's not. It's slightly, you have to just like Rajasi said, also similar to the cloth pad. Take your time and feel comfortable and try it. Be in a place where there's no sort of pressure and get used to it. But it's a product that's gaining incredible popularity across. And for example, we started 10 years with cloth pads, and at that time there was one menstrual cup maker in India, and right now we have around 15 different Indian brands alone. And just to sort of illustrate how much that has picked up.
And one more small point about tampons too, like they're probably obviously less amount of plastic than a disposable sanitary napkin. We know sanitary napkins have about 90% plastic, but it doesn't make the tampons also especially safe either. You were speaking about health and environmental impacts, and tampons are bleached to be white, and it's the same process as the pads when they're being bleached. So there's trace elements of dioxins. There's more and more evidence coming out about the toxins in tampons as well, and of course they're worn internally, which is a highly absorbent area. So I think one has to really take the time to understand and study. I think another option, if you really want to use disposable products and don't feel comfortable with reusable, you need to search out companies that do produce organic, toxic free certified disposable products. They are out there, like Naturacare, and I think there's also some natural tampons, but you really have to do your homework and really take the time. And as you rightly said, Rebecca, the onus is largely on the consumer because the companies won't necessarily reveal what they're putting in their products.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Just wanting to move to my final question, and we've got some more from participants that we've yet to answer, but just wanting to talk about, I know for myself, often when you have made some changes and you're feeling empowered and you feel good about being more in touch with your body, creating less waste, having less of a footprint, how you then make that step of sharing it with others, including, how do we speak to our daughters and do pass on this message in a way that we're likely to be heard. Rajasi, did you want to start by giving us your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I lost your voice in between. Can you just repeat?
So the question was about how do you share using sustainable menstrual products with others, including adolescents?
So a lot of times what I do is I generally conduct a session on menstrual health as a general, and there we discuss taboos and their current practices. What is the scientific what are the things related to menstruation? We discuss all about that, and then we talk about products, what are available in market, and we kind of weigh different options and help people make informed choice is what I see is a better approach. And that helps them people because what happens is uh, though people are using disposable product, my main focus is telling them about what are other alternatives available, and also about what hazards are there related to disposable pads. But if they are making that choice, they should still know like what is there in the disposable pads, and how they can dispose it off well. But if they want to learn more about reusable options, then I kind of tell them a little more about reusable products, and also how I personally use them and what is my experience. So that helps them relate, and that I have seen that talking about various products, then and then also there are a lot of questions when it comes to anatomy, and there are misconceptions related to reusables which we have to clarify when we talk about reusable products. And with adolescents are very much interested in trying new products is what we have seen. So some people may use reusable cloth, or some may be using disposable uh, pads, but when we talk about different products and they see the prints, they want to really try them. So hand holding them, and also talking to them even after the session is finished, like even after few days, or so talking to them and seeing if they are really interested and if they need any help in switching. So I try to do that.
Can I add just a few very quick points on top of that very briefly? I think what we've really learned is the main key is just speak from your own experience and from the heart. Authenticity really carries. And also shaming people away from using disposables, I think, is really unhelpful. Largely, people use disposables because they're not aware of alternatives, and they, so there is, as Rajasi rightly says, there can be a process of education, but I strongly believe it's not helpful to shame or coerce people into using reusables. Give them the opportunity to make an informed choice. And I just wanted to quickly wave something under the nose of our listeners here, because this is something that we put together in EcoFam, which it's called Why Make the Switch. So these kind of brochures can be really helpful to help break down the key information into a simple way, covers things like health, environment, economics, frequently asked questions. So these kind of tools and resources give somebody who wants to introduce someone to reusables, they're armed with accurate knowledge, because this is a conversation. It usually takes an investment of time to be able to really explain. I think just respond to the questions as they come up. Don't feel you need to overload and arm everybody with every fact, just to see where is the question coming from, what's their curiosity, and speak to it from your own passion and experience is really powerful.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and that really resonates for me with what we've learnt through Plastic Free July and growing this movement from just a handful of people to thousands of people and now millions of people around the world. That people are aware of the problem of plastics and waste ending up in our environment, in our oceans, and ending up in landfill. And no one's okay with it, but and we've done a lot of research on this issue now, and what people tell us is they don't want to know about the problem. They don't want to feel guilty. They already feel people aren't okay with this, and what they want is solutions. But also, really importantly, there's not one solution that's going to work for everybody. And so sharing stories, sharing different ideas that work for different people. And Rajasi, I really like your approach of, it takes time. And I think that particularly when you're, like us, and you're very passionate about the issues, it is easy to want to just give people all the information to tell them, don't you know what this is going to do for our environment, but that more measured, you know, this is what I've found helpful in my own life, and here are some challenges that I have overcome, is actually much more impactful and helps people to change. And just being there, like if you want more information, I'm happy to chat and following up and connecting with people. If you've got any more questions, please add them into the chat now. The only one I'm seeing that we haven't covered, someone asked about them not being absorbent, but Rajasi, I think do you want to just talk a little bit more about your answer there in terms of making your own pads and how to make them more absorbent and what kind of fabric you would recommend?
Sure. So Jessamijn has mentioned, like, look for a fabric which has slightly loose fibers. So and you should totally use fabric which is natural fabric. It could be cotton or it could be some other natural fiber you at home. Won't recommend wool if you are from Asian countries where it's very hot, but or fleece. Fleece is again very, it could be hot for some people. So would recommend natural fibers. You can either use a t-shirt fabric, or you can use a thick fabric which comes in your bed sheets, or it comes in your old saris which have softened with time. So you can use such fabrics, any and you can do this like if you want to make it at home using the fabric available at home. You can fold it yourself and see how much it absorbs. Like you can put just a few tablespoons of water and check how easily it absorbs. If it takes a lot of time to absorb, then the fabric may be difficult to use in terms of absorption. But if it absorbs, like not very quickly, but it takes time to absorb, but it again, like it maintains that dry cover up. So you have to like kind of experiment with that. But for me, I have seen, like when you have to do it at home, the t-shirt fabric is something. If you use it as insert, like for this pad which Jessamijn showed, like on the insides, if you use a t-shirt fabric, it kind of absorbs and holds a lot, is what I have observed. But the t-shirt should again be, it should have more of cotton and less synthetic fibers in that. Or you can use old saris. Like I have always used old saris of my grandmother. So that is another option which you can try. There were some more questions actually related to cloth pads. Like some were asking, is there any particular brand you want to, we should buy? So I would say there are so many options available on Amazon. If you're based in India, there is Ecofem, there is Stone Soup. I think Stone Soup has some other name. Their pads have some other name, I think Lardley or something. But you can check their brand also. Then there are so many brands actually. So for India, I would say, like whatever place you are, just do a quick check of that brand when you see it on Amazon. Like, do they have their website, or what materials they use in there? It could be a cup or a cloth pad, anything. Just do a small background check before ordering their product, so that you know that the product you're ordering is authentic, and you can rely on that product. So. Um, so yeah, that will be a much better approach before investing in any product, right? Whether it could be a cup or a cloth pad. Do some research, and I would say that I'm part of a campaign called Green the Red. So Green the Red has a website where we have listed some of the brands, and you can check those brands there. Green the Red. Okay, so we have a website and Facebook page where you can see there are several brands listed which you can check.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. Well, we can share that link with people in the follow-up email.
Yes.
Thanks, Rajasi.
There are several questions related to cloth pads actually. So Kathy or Jessamijn, do you want to answer, or should I start any would you add to that?
Actually, I'm wondering, in the interest of time, we could take questions, but also we have frequently asked questions on our website. And I think a lot of the questions that people have, especially for first-time users, and even we have a product demo video that explains the washing and drying. So I'm wondering if, in the interest of time, that this might be, if we put the link to our website. Also, we've got a very quite large blog which really covers a lot of articles around environment, around health, around culture to do with menstruation, things like an incineration, whether that's a viable option, about making your own pads as well, and kind of the opportunity but also the challenges with that. So I think that maybe we could do that, unless you want us to spend a bit more time to answer specific questions, because yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that blog, sorry, and the FAQs will be really helpful. And Rajasi, if you have that list of products with green, the red, I think we can refer to that. I would just like to ask, because we've talked about pads a lot, but haven't talked about the cups as much. Just wondering if you could speak to the question about maintaining hygiene while using menstrual cups.
Sure. So I'll just answer the last question and then I will talk about menstrual cup. So I would say that in terms of reusable product, we cannot say that, or any menstrual product, I would say that it would be wrong to say that this product is best, because the user is the person who makes the decision of whether that product is best for them or not, depending on the convenience, comfort, affordability, and everything. So I think it's wrong. We as menstrual educators or anyone says that particular product is best. So yeah, menstrual cup or cloth pad, anything is best if you feel it's best for you, is my answer. So I will just talk a little about menstrual cups. So menstrual cups are made from medical grade silicone. Some are made from thermoplastic elastomer, but a lot of them are still made from medical grade silicone. And menstrual cups, while wearing or removing them, make sure that your hands are washed properly with soap, and then you kind of sit on Indian toilet or a Western toilet and then insert and remove them. Inserting is much better if you wear it in a squat position, or by putting one leg on some higher thing, like could be a stool or something, and then wearing it, it becomes easier. And even when you're outside and if you're not sure if you will get clean water or not, you can always carry, your own soap strips. So this particular cup, She Cup, it comes with soap strips. Okay, so you can carry those with you and you can clean the cup with it, and then you can wear it. You can do that. And you should sterilize your cup if you are prone to infections, or if you travel frequently outside. So we recommend that you sterilize the cup like before your cycle, so that it's much safer to use.
Yeah, thank you. And I think like many things, it does take time to get used to, and also, as has been said, different solutions suit different people. Well, look, we are coming up on the hour now. We still have a few more questions that are unanswered, but when we send the follow-up email, we'll put those links to all of those different wonderful resources. And if any of those questions aren't answered through those, we'll pop the answers and suggestions into the email. So wanted to give a very big thank you to Rajasi and to Kathy and to Jessamijn. Thank you very much and everyone who has participated, for giving up your Sunday, whether it's afternoon or middle of the day or morning or night, depending where in the world that you are. But really appreciate your generosity in sharing all of your learnings and for taking action on something that I think is very important. So thank you very much to everybody. We'll put this on our website, and although we only have one more week left of Plastic Free July, it's the start, not the end, and we are really all on this journey together. So we wish you well, and thank you very much for joining us. So thank you.
Thank you for hosting. It's really a pleasure. And apologies for our sound quality. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
It made up for it with your smiling faces and your great knowledge. Thank you very much, Rajasi.
Thank you, Rebecca, for inviting and hosting this. And some of the participants, your questions were unanswered, and if you still want to ask any of us, I think you can also message us on our social handles, like on EcoFem's social handle, or you can message me on Bleed Red Go Green. I can just put the handles, and you can, if you feel that your questions were unanswered, you can maybe write to us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice evening
Yeah.
or day.